Hi boys and girls. So I'm going to be teaching you today about how to paint your picture and how to use a wax resist, which is when you have crayon or sometimes oil pastel and it helps you to color in your picture so you can paint around those areas. So to start, I'm just making sure that I erased all my pencil marks first that I don't want to show up in my picture. And it looks like I have almost all of them erased. So I'm gonna get started by doing my first step of coloring, which is gonna be using crayon. Now, I did bring my tempera paints that have my skin tones in them because sometimes the crayon sets don't have that many skin tones. Mine has this one, and I think this is similar in the crayons that I'm bringing to your classroom today. But if you want, you can use your own version, and don't mind this gray one because you don't really need to use white. You'll use a version of these. If you want to, you're more than welcome. I mean, you can go ahead and color your skin tone with the skin tone color that you have. You might have like a brown that you might want to use if you're a darker skin tone. But I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna actually paint mine. So because I'm gonna paint my skin tone, if you have areas that you wanna color in, this would be a good time to use crayons. So if you were gonna use pink, I know my mouth is already dark from the Sharpie, it's already black, but just pretend if it was an outline, if you wanted to use pink, if you wanted to put any pink in your cheeks, especially if you're a girl, you could do that now. Okay, boys and girls, I'm having a little bit of issues with recording on my phone, so I'm gonna do this really quickly and just explain just in case I missed it. What I'm doing is I'm going through and I'm coloring in with crayon the things that it's gonna be really hard to color around later on when I'm using my paints. So I'm gonna be coloring in small details. If you have a frame like mine and you wanted to color it in, this would be something really quick that you would need to do. But like for example, for me to go in and paint that little dot on the inside of all these little loops is gonna be really tricky. So I'm gonna take my crayon and I'm just gonna use my crayon instead. And then when I go back and I use my paints, it's gonna leave that little dot on the inside. It's still gonna be yellow. Okay, boys and girls, now I'm ready to start painting. I'm gonna make sure all my extra crayon is off my paper. I'm gonna move my tempera paints over to the side. And I'm gonna get my regular paints out. And I'm gonna start. So here's the thing. If I'm gonna start in a small area, I'm gonna take my brush. I'm gonna get a smaller sized brush. I'm gonna get a little dot of water, put it on my paints. So I'm doing red, and across from red in the color wheel is green. That's its complementary color. So I'm gonna get this light green color. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna paint right down here to fill in that space. I actually think I might wanna make it darker. Let me see. I have a better green. Yes, this is much darker. Go over it with the dark green. Okay, so since that's behind me, that means all these spaces need to be colored in with green. Now, if I went and I did this while the tempera paint was still wet, it would be running together and making a big mess. So that's why I waited for my shirt to dry and my arms and everything to dry first so that it wouldn't run together. Now I'm gonna get some water on my paper and I'm gonna just trace the outline of my person, of myself, with water, and then I'm gonna get my color after. So it's gonna spread into the water just a little bit. And then if I want it to spread even more, I can add some more water. Now you can see a difference in the color because remember in the beginning I started with yellow. So I think I'm gonna go back and get a little yellow. Oops, it's too much. Mix it in, and you can do the same thing too, but see how I'm blending it? You wanna make sure that you blend it so it's not unfinished looking. So you can see that there. I'm gonna get my other green. Oh, I didn't use yellow. I used that other shade of green. Oh my goodness, that's okay. So here's what's happening on my paper, which will probably happen on your paper if you use too much water or go over the same spot twice. It's gonna start getting pilly, which means the paper is gonna start coming apart. So what you wanna do is be very careful, and if it starts getting those little dots on it, just leave it exactly the way it is. Don't touch it, don't mess with it. Otherwise, it's gonna start making a hole. All right, I'm gonna try to follow what I did on this side. Now that I remember, I'm gonna paint up to this line, paint around my flower, and I did color my flowers in with crayon, so you can see that if I color over it, it just goes right off, right? It doesn't even stick on the flower because I used crayon first. And crayon's gonna push the paint off. Okay, boys and girls, so it looks like my phone ran out of space, so I was able to go ahead and finish the drawing and do the paint around the background. You can see that I chose colors that were different from the colors of the objects. So for example, with the paint, which is silver and blue, I used a pink color so that it would stand out. For the rocket ship, I put purple and black to do kind of like a galaxy sky, but also so the orange and the silver would stand out. Same thing with the bike as much as I could. I decided to leave my frame white, but you're welcome to paint it in colors if you'd like to. But just so you can see that I used colors that contrast or are different from the other colors. Like in the flowers in the background, you can see that I didn't use yellow, I didn't use pink or red for any of the colors behind me in the frame. So you want to find colors that are really going to make your object stand out. And then this is the finished painting. I think that you guys are going to do an awesome job with this, and I'm going to let you go ahead and get started now. Good luck.